Peace and blessings, everybody. Just give me 1 second. So that was a great display of, you know, where we are at this point. And right now I am going to introduce a great brother. His name is Dennis Mott Jr. He hails from Chicago originally, currently living in California. He's a world traveler. Dennis Mott Jr. has many businesses. First of all, he is a Marine. I started to say was a Marine, but once a Marine, always a Marine. So he is a Marine. He is the father of 3 beautiful daughters and also grandchildren. Okay, he has a business in travel. He's currently traveling around the U.S. now. So he was in New York, then went to Sacramento, and now he's in Vegas, right? You're in Vegas right now. So he's constantly traveling and just doing his thing in business. He loves Black people. He's unapologetically Black. And I present to you Dennis Mott Jr.
Hey, everybody. I hope you guys like that. Now, sorry about the little technical difficulties because I can't help that. But I'm out here in Vegas. But it's a lot of people out here. I met somebody from Albany, New York out here earlier today. But it's a lot of people out here and they're doing their thing. I hope you really liked what you saw. Let's see if I can, I don't know what the heck happened here, but hope you like what you saw. It was a lot of interesting stuff there. And the people, I just like the end of it, seeing all the different colors of our people because we come in so many colors and variations of Blackness, you know, so I love that. And all these people here, all the things that they were talking about, I mean, it's older, but it still applies today, 500 years later. It's still going on to this day right now. And you heard of Marcus Garvey, all these quotes of people speaking in there that you might have seen or you may not have seen. But I like that it's talked to people in England, Africa, America, all the diaspora, all over the world. And now we can make a change and, you know, have dialogue about that. So anybody want to talk about what they saw or what they like or disliked about it? Anybody want to unmute themselves? Go ahead. Can you hear me?
This is Nadra.
Hey, go ahead, Nadra.
I didn't catch it all. I'm really saddened, but I'm really delighted that you repost these or post them on your site so I can go back and look at what I've missed. The parts that I did catch, I thought are so accurate. There is a lot of work to be done. You're doing some of that work. And I want you to make sure that you really understand the value that you are providing to us as a people, also for us in the marketplace to begin finding creative ways that we can do the same thing and to be compensated for it. I mean, it'd be lovely for you to be compensated for this that you are doing, because 500 years later, depending on where you look, it's like nothing has changed. So that's it for right this moment.
All right, you got a point. I mean, I see what you're talking about. Like the Honorable Marcus Garvey says, you know, he said it a while ago, and we're looking at all the things that we do, how with the education, you know, what they talked about with the education was really phenomenal. You know, you can be educated, but the education they're giving us is still enslaving us in the mind. We're still mentally enslaved because we're systematically being educated by our oppressors, and we have no knowledge of who we are, where we came from, or how good or the creative things that we've done in the past coming up to the present. When they talked about even reparations, you know, what would happen if they gave us reparations right now? What do you think would happen? How would it be? Would it help our community, or would we spend it on, like he said, Lincoln Navigators or something? What do you say, LaShawn? I saw you unmute yourself.
Well, in regards to the reparation, I don't think they can ever give us back what they took, because the people that have died never benefited. And some of them have died not even knowing what benefit they've caused, after their lives. And the other thing is, I don't want anything from you. Just be fair about what you do. If you do it for yours, do it for everybody else. That would be the only thing I could think of as reparation. And that doesn't even begin to even make a dent in it. Towards the end, when they were talking about the fact that we survived as much as we have, that right there alone speaks volumes. And then I've heard where, even your own people enslaved you, at least that was what I was told. And then I was waiting to hear that piece, in this. And I did hear that. And what I got was that they came to help, and they, giving us the impression they were here to help, and they weren't. They were here to take away. But by that time, it was too late. And then, of course, by force, against whatever. If you're forcing someone against someone that has no way to defend themselves, then it's, it's one-sided. It's very sad and hurting, but at the same time, it's almost like, look what we've endured. Look what we've accomplished, and we still can. Even when you cheat, we still survive. I mean, there's so many things I got from that, but that's what comes to mind right now.
All right. Thank you. Talking about, enslaving the reparations, they could never do it. They've taken so much. You look at the Chase banks and all the businesses that they have made off our backs. I like when they put up the analogy where, think of McDonald's and people working for whatever they work for all these years. How much money would that be? We're just talking about, hypothetically speaking, but we never got paid a dime from all the labor and work we did to build the country. And we're talking about slavery. I was just having a conversation with a young man on Facebook. He talked about how, we don't get along, and why are we thinking about Africa? And he couldn't even pronounce Guyana. He said, I should do my research. He does research. He can look at it. I said, you need to get out and travel. He was trying to come into the business, or ask me to get into his business and he'll get into my business, but that wasn't happening because he's just so far off. He looks at us as like, we're the problem. And, a lot of us think that we're the problem. And he's told me, well, we sold our own people into slavery. They didn't do it, we did. I'm like, where did he get that history from? But that is what we really think. And as I said, it wasn't the way slavery was. I always tell people, it's not the way it is over here with systematic slavery. They could buy out, they could have like a job. I call it, it's like a job. They can go and come as they please, and they can live in the community. They can marry in the family. Everybody treat each other like family. It wasn't like that. You were treated with respect, and not it was a servitude thing, but you did your job. You went home, or you stayed with the family, whatever you want to do, and you could eventually buy yourself out. It didn't make a difference. They weren't chained and sun up to sundown, not paid or anything like that. It's a totally different ball game, but we don't understand history. As soon as we said here that we sold slaves, we think that it was the way chattel slavery was. And they also nipped in on a little bit about the brother who was enslaved in Africa, but then he got enslaved in European style. So wow, it was totally different. I mean, we don't understand it. When people come to, we sold each other in slavery, it was a totally different ball game. It's just like the Europeans, when they came over here, they were messed up over there. So they came to America, they kicked them out of America. Same thing here. If you had some people in your culture who was not profitable or causing problems, okay, let me give you to another tribe and maybe you can go over there. But they still were not treated the way that the Europeans treated the African slavery and having you think as master the way they were done over here. I see you unmuted, Kai, go ahead.
Yeah, to speak to what you're saying about how slavery or the idea of slavery was different in Africa than the way it is over here. I think one of the big issues for our people is that we want to think that everybody is the same. So, and it's not about us hating anybody else, but the European mindset and the African mindset is totally different. There are just certain things. It's kind of like when you have like your dad, for instance, or family, sometimes we'll have certain traits from relatives that's kind of like imprinted in us that, even if you're not around certain relatives, you hear it all the time with sometimes like young people who haven't been around their fathers, and then the family meets that young child and they're like, wow, that's definitely his kid because of the things that that child does. So the same with us as an African people. A lot of times we want to think that we're all the same and we're thinking the same, but we're not. And I think that that's also one of the problems with our younger African American, well, not just African American, but young African people in the diaspora, is that we're trying to blend in with dominant society and say, oh, well, we're all the same. And we try to blend in with, you know, those groups of people. But one, they never truly accept us. But also we're looking at things upside down and backwards. So even the way that they show us what Africa looks like is upside down. So I think that it's really the mindset. And also speaking to if we got reparations, I do think that reparations could be helpful, but only if we had a certain mindset, which we don't. So if they did reparations, I would prefer to see that, and maybe like that Black people could have certain institutions, like, you know, Black people could go to college for free or at a discount or something like that to even the playing field a little bit. But if we did get reparations, I mean, a lot of us would go shopping. You know, we look at how we do when we get taxes, you know, unfortunately. And I'm guilty of it. You know, I used to, back in the day when I didn't know better, think, oh, I have a few extra dollars, let me go shopping. But, you know, if I would have been educated enough, and I'm talking about like, not academically, but the mindset, if my mindset would have been, oh, why don't everybody in the family pool some of these thousands of dollars together? Black people could buy property or buildings and things like that, and we would be able to address a lot of the issues that's facing our communities now. Back to you.
All right, you are totally correct. LaShawn, your hand is raised, but let me go on this when you're talking about our youth and how I just talked to my 24-year-old nephew the other day, and he's talking about the problem is we got a problem. We're the same as they are, you know, we're the same as other races, put it like that. I understand that, but here in this society in America, and I had to point out, how come we're 40% in prisons and we make up 13% of the population and they keep arresting us, we're being shot. What do you see on the news? What are you seeing going on? And he just says, no, that's our problem. And he kept saying black on black crime. But I'm like, wow, that's amazing. But who's bringing the guns and the drugs into the neighborhoods, you know? So the youth, they have a different way, and they think if they, you know, they can mix with them and do that makes them different because they are intermarriage. But there's still, you know, when you go out, if you're not, like they said, you have to, the lady said in the movie, you have to be culturally aware of what you're doing and put yourself first and understand about your history and your culture, because they say, hey, don't worry about that. That happened in the past. They didn't do nothing to us, but they're receiving the benefit of white supremacy, or white, I shouldn't say supremacy, but white privilege. So we have to, you know, go out and still do what we have to do. We have to communicate and have economic power, because no one is going to give us a thing. We have to go out and communicate, economic power, build relationships, use our resources in the proper ways and conditions. And that's the way I think we're going to be able to move forward in that aspect of it. As I said, you know, they're not going to give us anything. We have to go out and take it. So go ahead, LaShawn, your hand's raised.
In regards to reparation, I was just saying that they can never make up for it. I really, truly think they cannot. But at the same time, like I said, if they even want to begin, do it, I mean, be fair, you know, whatever you do for other races, you do for the same for us, which I don't ever see that happening. So we have to do for ourselves and stop depending on them. And I can't think of the one lady that was saying about the brainwashing. I mean, the amount of brainwashing that has happened, that continues to still happen, blows my mind. In just every single aspect of our lives are consumed constantly being brainwashed by what they want us to see, hear, do, taste, smell, everything. You know, tap into all of our senses. One of the segments was, what was you doing with your child when they were 2 years old? What was you doing with your child at 12? You know, they're in front of the TV. The TV is constantly brainwashing. And then the schools themselves, you know, to think that first of all, they can't teach our history because they took it away from us in the first place. And they would never want us to learn our history because then we would be more of a people than what they are. The whole idea is to teach us just enough to keep us where they want us, which is still enslaved. It's just modern slavery. So when I see that, like I said, it just blows my mind that it still continues. Before it was not blatant, now it's just blatant because they feel like there's nothing that we can do about it. And that's where we need to reprogram ourselves and our children and our children's children to be self-sufficient, because if we were self-sufficient, there wouldn't even be any of this. But of course, we already know from past history that once we become self-sufficient, rise above all of this, then that's when they come in and they tear it down, that one person. So back to you.
And you're correct on the education tip. They teach us how to hate ourselves. They teach us to hate who we are. You know, like Malcolm said before, who taught you to hate the lips, hate your nose, hate your hair? Who taught that to you? They didn't. And like I like what they were talking about when they brought out the religion aspect of it, how religion has played a big part to our mental slavery by giving us someone that looks like them as God, you know, even if it's not written in the book. As the brother said, hey, they came into the house, robbed the whole house, took everything out, but it wasn't a book touched. So they could have $1 million in them books, they wouldn't have touched it. But if they put in our minds, they throw a picture out there, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, and they put that picture of a white God or a white Jesus, which Jesus supposedly in the Bible is not that color, but as long as you imagine that, you think that, and I go around to churches all over, I mean, where they say black Jesus, but can we really envision a black Jesus in unity? But we can put that white Jesus, as soon as you say Jesus, that image comes in your head like that. You know, it's just automatic. And with that comes the self-hate, the doing for master, and all these things. We have to learn how to become sufficient and believing in ourselves and have that self-discipline and self-efficiency. Go out and know about yourself, knowledge of self. And that's what we need to do. We have to go out and do that and understand we are created as the Creator wanted us, and we are a split image of Him. That's why our DNA, as LaShawn just talked about, watching television. You know, what's going on? The pandemic, they got us all in confusion. While they go do what they want to do, whatever they're doing behind the scenes, it's like the art of war, have you think one way while they're doing another. So we're stuck right here on the fence while they're still doing something. We don't know. We'll find out later on what the thing is that they want. But right now we're in limbo pretty much. And when we say, hey, they have the government to pay us right now, okay, they shut down everything, but they're going to we're going to print up some money and give you the money. Now you're still dependent on the man or the government instead of going out and creating your own. And that's so sorry. I mean, it's sad, but we have to change that thought process and go out and create for ourselves and show others that we can make this happen and duplicate what we see. Because if we duplicate what they're showing us, we're always going to be dependent. We're always going to be looking for master to give us a handout. Like our house burning boss, my house, we can't keep doing that. It's not their house, it's our own house that is burning. We have to go ahead, put the fire out, and make something happen there in the future. Okay, Shuna, can you unmute yourself? You have anything to add there? I don't know if you can talk or not.
Dennis?
Yes.
I just want, go ahead, Shuna.
Yeah, can you hear
Okay.
me?
We can hear you. But it's very,
Go ahead.
okay, I guess you can just listen in. Oh, there you go, you laughed.
Okay, I'll talk. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
You can
now.
hear me?
Yeah, that's a lot better.
Yeah, I think it seems like it's a delay in what I say. Okay, so what I got was a couple things. One thing was we all say we want things to change and we all need to do something. And I'm just talking about present day right now. An example is when that guy or whoever it was that killed the 2 cops in Compton, and I'm reading all this stuff about all this outrage and how violent that was, and but at the same time, people saying, "Oh, we need to do something," but then when somebody do something, we want to criticize them for doing something, and it's like, okay, you're either gonna be hot or cold. Should we do something or should we not do something? You know, so that's one thing, and it is with what we're going through right now, with all this disease and the bad food that's openly known to us that is bad food.
Okay, you went out again. Okay, we tried. I can't. We're gonna change over to someone else. You kind of faded out a little bit. We did. You said about
how people see that our minds are being controlled by the media. You know, see what's going on with the fire and the smoke and shit. It's a mass area. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Is that better? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you better right now. I
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Still having internet issues. On the money, good service. But so one of the things they said, somebody said that we need a Holocaust. I'm like, that is so true. We need a Holocaust on all of that mess that's going on, and we need an ideology that will bring us together, and that will have us making change, not just in our immediate community, but all over the U.S. and in Africa. Like, if we can see how they can do all this mass disease everywhere, got the whole world on lockdown, and got these fires going halfway across the U.S., that should let people see that if these few little people can do that, how much more as us as a bigger group of people can we do if we get together and do something? So that's something that stuck out. And they were saying people without roots have no foundation. So if we learn our history and we create the foundation for our children and our grandchildren, and then stick with that, and then we defend our interest in that, in our history, and in our family, and create our legacy. And then a legacy, speaking of legacy, is something you don't even hardly hear people, especially our people, even talking about it anymore. They don't even think about leaving a legacy or creating a raise my kids, so now I'm done, you know. And then we leave it at that, and then when our kids are lost or something happened to our kids, then we want to cry, woe is me, you know what I mean? So if we do that, create that ideology that's going to bring us together, stick to it and build that foundation, and you know, we all stand on that foundation, and then just continue it on with our kids, and show them how to teach their own kids, and then keep it going from there, and we can make change. So that's what I got out of it.
All right. Thank you very much. It is so true. I understand you saying, you know, what's going on in LA, and, you know, you got to fight back sometimes. And then they say, well, that shouldn't happen. But, you know, if we don't do nothing, we sit there and like they talked about it here, when they came into Africa, there was a whole bunch of people that fought back. A lot of tribes, a lot of kings. He named a lot of them, even in Zinga. So it's a lot of times that we do have to stand up and fight back. And they talked about how, you know, when we talk about slavery, we say we did it to ourselves, but you don't hear any of the Jews saying we did it to ourselves. It was our fault that the Holocaust happened. But you do hear that amongst our people a lot, repeatedly. We wouldn't have sold ourselves, and you got to be kidding me. We were trying to help out the world. We were running the world by helping each other and having that economy going, teaching people about schooling, agriculture, water systems. we went throughout the world doing that. You can go to Hawaii and see how that's done, Brazil. I mean, all over the world, we had an impact, and we were here in the Americas before we even were enslaved. We were already here because we had been traveling back and forth, giving information on how to do things and building things before the European even came in the picture. So with that said, I'm gonna go over to LaShawn because she has her hand raised. LaShawn, go ahead.
I was just going to say that we truly, as a nationality, as a race, do not know how much power we truly have. And when you constantly hear about we are the biggest consumers, that's power right there. And we just do not know how much value that is. And it's being misused because we're the consumers as opposed to taking it and redirecting it amongst our own. And then using that as a voice to speak back to the politics and to the rest of the world. But to be the biggest consumer, that's huge. And it just goes unnoticed, or they don't realize it.
Yeah, and that is power, and that shows you how much money we really have, but we don't think we have. That's what. How can you be the biggest consumer with no money?
Exactly.
So, but they make us run around and say, you ain't got no money. But hold on, you're buying Louis Vuitton.
The brainwashing.
$800 hair. You know, where, come on, really? What if we put that money into our community? We used our resources to build us up instead of getting our hair done, nails done, feet done. I mean, that's just on one. I ain't even talking about all the other stuff out there. Like I said, the cars, everything that's not putting into our community or our resources to make us grow. We could definitely be a force to be reckoned with. And that's why they say, you know, they even said it on there, buy black, you know, we have the power. All we got to do is spend our money together. We don't have to spend it with anybody else. And when we do spend our money together, which I don't know why I shouldn't say I don't. I talk to my own people and they're like, well, you don't have everything. So what? We don't have everything. Buy it anyway. How many times have you bought something and sit there on the side and collecting junk, or you buy something and you give it away to someone else? Do that. We can, but we're keeping our money rolling. We're not letting it leave our every 6 hours. Let's keep it in our community for 30 days. Let's keep it in our community for 15 days. Whatever the case may be, we have to spend our money. We have to build businesses, and we get businesses, we have to patronize it. A lot of times people don't patronize it, but we have to change that narrative. There's nothing wrong with it. Recognizing where we are and then elevating ourselves from that spot to increase every day, every week, every month, every year. You know, who knew this pandemic was coming? Who knows what they're going to be like? I tell people, what is your goal? We say you got a 10-year goal. What is your next year goal? What are you going to be doing next year? We don't know what's going to happen next year. We didn't know what's going to happen this year, but we're still, every day is going to come, and we still have to move forward and do something positively and make a difference in our communities. So with that said, Nadra, are you there? I'm going to bother you for a second.
I'm here.
Okay, you have anything to say about that? I don't want to keep talking myself. I'm trying to.
I have a lot of things to say about
Go ahead.
a lot of this. Let me start with something that for me is very basic. We're talking, I mean, for example, you mentioned our hair, our nails, and our feet and all that. So Black people are the original ones on the earth, right? Billions of years. And white folks have been here for just a second. So if you look at any of the medical, anthropological, all the researchers, Stanford, all the highest universities, everybody will tell you that the Black woman was the first woman on the planet who created, then everybody else came through her. So we talk about God and it's always he. So I'm just trying to come back to a place where, number one, we as Black people don't divide ourselves by the sexes. And the fact that, yes, I understand that we spend more money in terms of being Black women on the hair and nails and everything you said, that's accurate. That's what is happening right now. However, that was not always so. And as this film indicated, we're not taught about what really did happen. We're taught about what white folks made up. Just like right now, they're trying to take slavery out of the US history books. So then children 50 years from now will be like, okay, so none of this ever happened. And then if you don't travel, if you haven't traveled, if you didn't travel before white folks decided to change all the places in the world to represent them, like in Egypt, where they blew off the nose of the Sphinx so that it wouldn't look black. You could argue that it was an Asiatic person, who are all black anyway. There's just so much. I saw the pyramids, the inside of the pyramids, before and as the white folks began pinkenizing and whitenizing the black people who were there. They started putting the chemicals on to change. There's just so many lies, so much corruption that white folks have rained upon us all, and that somehow, and I don't know how they got here. I don't know if they are malformed from us, whether they were created in a test tube. I don't know. All I know is that they've only been here on the planet for a short amount of time, according to even them, yet that they have wreaked havoc all over the globe. Every single place they have gone, they have wreaked havoc. They don't even live with themselves in harmony. We talk about reparations. Some folks are going to do some of the right things with it, some of the best things, the better things with it. Some folks are going to get the navigators, and have that and to run it till the tires run off, and then they don't have a place to live, kind of thing. Some of us will make some good decisions with it, some of us will not. I agree with LaShawn, there is no way possible for them to really give us reparations. There's nothing they could do. Not even taking their God out of their Bible, which they took from our ancient scriptures. And yeah, there's a mess going on right now. And so 500 years later, and it actually happened even further back than that, but I am still thanking you, because there are so many fights to be fought. There are so many fronts that we have to look at while we're watching our back and underneath our feet. But you got to start somewhere, right? And you have started. I could go on and on, but I'm really grateful for this, because this is at least one time during the week that I am able to join with a few other Black folk and have this kind of conversation. And there's lots of places I can go, lots of places, who do different things, who hold different kind of church, or who dance, or who smoke, or who have study sessions and read a book or whatever. But the visual, there's nothing like the visuals. The Pan-African Film Festival out here, every February, for the month of February, the film is played several times, different films for the whole month. Well, the brother said this time it'll likely be virtual, because the world is going into technology, right? And nobody knows at this point about the pandemic, and plans have to be made. But this is a little session where, for me, I'm able to spend a little quality time with my peeps, happens to be mostly sisters, and sisters, I appreciate you all being on. And I don't have the answer for what would draw more of our men. I have a feeling, though, that a good portion of our men, when they begin to take a look at this, that it addresses their manhood in a certain way from the perspective that you all and we have had about men being the protectors, and they get beaten down even more. They see the visuals and it beats them down even more. So I don't have the answers. I think this is a huge start in the solution, and that as you continue to spread your wings and rise, that you will maybe use us as the wind beneath your wings, and you will continue and continue and continue.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And we do have to get more men out here. I know it's kind of crazy because it's football season, but I could be watching football, but I'm still here. We have to, have to change our narrative. And I see Shuna's hands up. Give me a second, Shuna. And we just have to go out and do what we need to do, and collectively cooperate, use each other's resources, connect to other diasporas, like you said, in Africa and here. Connect to one another, use our resources, and be productive in all instead of being negative. I think someone said, live Africa instead of just talking about it or talking about us. We have to live it every day. I mean, the way we dress, the way we think, instead of trying to be westernized, we have to go back to our Afrocentric selves, which we are normally in originality. Our hair is like, just let it grow. I mean, I was with the company, I thought it was black owned and black this, but they said, oh no, you need to shave your beard so I can look like that. I know most people I know that are businessmen, not from here, but abroad, they have beards. They grow their hair out. They can do that because they're in charge of themselves. But when we are systematically, the race is systematically, you want to try to emulate what they are. So, that's another thing, but we still have to continue to move forward. As Nadra just said, it doesn't make a difference what the obstacle is, what we've done. Like LaShawn said, how we're still resilient and still are here and still moving forward speaks volumes throughout all the adversity and all the things that we had to overcome. We still have to, even a lot of people, we have to have therapy. We have to even deal with post-traumatic slave disorder. A lot of people cannot handle that or can't deal with certain situations, but I know how strong we are. We're still here. We can overcome anything. If we need that help, we need to have those things in place. But we are the Black doctors, the Black lawyers, the Black therapists, everything, that we have. It's not saying that we can't do it with everybody else, but no one understands our plight like we do. All right, Suna, your hand is up. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yeah. She mentioned reparations. And the reason we can't get reparations because reparations would admit to guilt. And it would also admit to other things that they would have to take accountability for, which would also lead to lawsuits and all kind of other stuff that could cost them a lot of money. So the reparations would hit them more in the pocket than them just giving us reparations because of all the other stuff that comes with that, So we're not getting no reparations. That's why we have to create our own stuff. We need to just forget about that and get to what we have to do right now and what we have to create on our own, because again, looking for reparations is we sticking our hand out to them for something, and we have too much within all of us to have to stick our hand out to anybody other than our own people for anything. So forget the reparations, because that ain't happening.
And, you know, as I always say, why would the oppressor want to give the oppressed the power to overthrow him? Not that we would, but in their mind, because of what they've done to us as a people for so many years, that they cannot even fathom the thought of having to relinquish that. You know, when you talk about white privilege, I think it was I forgot the lady's name who spoke in a class and said, how many of you, and it was a whole auditorium, a classroom in college of Caucasian people, I mean, not even white, Caucasian people, and she asked them, hey, would you want to switch places with an African-American person? Not one hand was raised, because they know what they've done is not right. Like I said, they have to admit their guilt, and if it comes out of money, they're not trying to get rid of a penny. They're not trying to get rid of a dime, but they will come into your community, as we saw earlier, and with the $1 trillion game, they will come to extract your money. They'll give you something to get back 10 to 100 fold, and we don't know the game, so we keep going on into that consumer process and giving them our money. All right, LaShawn, your hand is raised. Go ahead. You have the floor.
I personally wouldn't even want anything from them, because I wouldn't be able to trust them. Because if you give me something, what am I going to pay for it to give me in the first place? Looking towards the future, I think the handwriting is on the wall. If we look at what's really going on behind the scenes, things like saying that we have a shortage of coins, and so now stores are not even allowing us to pay with cash. We have to pay with checks and credit cards and debit cards. You know, to me, that's a tracking device. They're also talking about, I read someplace where if you even show up for school, that's going to be consent, that you're automatically consenting that your child is going to be vaccinated. The other thing is the Bitcoin, you know, how that comes out, which again is a tracking device. So I look at it as just another level of updated brainwashing, controlling, and keeping us where they want us, where they think they want us to be. The only thing that we can do is do it for ourselves. That's the only thing I can think of. And why wouldn't you want to do it for yourselves? I can't even think of the lady that was tapping on her hand saying this color, but she was just talking about how we have become complacent. And that's exactly what they've done. They made it so convenient to not do anything for ourselves and to depend on them, that it is easy just to sit back and be complacent. Yes, do we want a job? Yes, we want a job, but we want a job that's fair. Well, that's not going to happen. So it's easy for us to just get up every day and go work for somebody else. It's not easy to create a business on your own and to run it yourself and to do it by yourself. They make it hard. They give you all kinds of red tape if you want to apply for the same kind of assistance for some other counterpart that wants to run their own business as well. And I've seen that, you know, because my mother was a business person, and how they constantly will make you go through red tape or constantly, you know, watch you more than they'll watch the other. You know, it's no different than they're watching us while their own is stealing right in front, you know, and they don't even see it. So the only thing I could think of is that one thing is that knowledge, excuse me, cannot be taken away from us. And that's one thing that we need to level ourselves up. I mean, there was a screen and it had all kinds of names on it while you were showing this. And I was trying to hurry up and take a picture of it because I wanted to be able to have that as part of my book list, you know, to read about what we were not taught in the first place. But I always say that, you know, the handwriting is on the wall, that there's just going to go to the next level of controlling. And they're telling us that by the things that they're doing. And then I think it was Nadra, if not, I apologize, but I think she mentioned about how they're constantly showing all of this to us to desensitize us so that when it really does come into play on a 100% basis, we're not surprised by it. And that we feel like, well, there's nothing we could do. This is the way it is. And that doesn't have to be. It absolutely does not have to be. So back to you, Dennis.
You're totally correct. I mean, with this pandemic going on, I'm looking at what they're doing out here in Vegas, you know, as far as, you know, I'm thinking that they want to implement us with a chip or something in some way, form, how they're going to do it. And you put your arm up. Now, they push the thing for your temperature in your forehead. They do your arm. You can't come in the casino unless you catch your arm. I came into one, and man, you ain't even it's across the room. They said just pull down your mask, and boop, it got you. I was like, where's it at? It's like, it's over there. I'm like, so now I'm like, wow, they got stuff implemented already across the room. Then and they show where there you go, each person. But it wasn't even, they think the latest I saw was the thing to put on your head or you put your arm up, but this one was across the room. Just pull down your mask. They don't even have to, have to do anything up on you. It's way over there. And they got your temperature. So imagine what they're doing with this chip. You get out of line. They got you. If you do something they don't like, they don't even have to shoot you anymore. They can just heart failure, whatever they want to do. It's amazing what's going on. But as I said, we are now being programmed to go along with that system. Social distancing, everybody's afraid of everything, even out of, I see what's going on, but still some of them are just, paranoid. Hey, only 4 people get in the elevator. That's fine. You have to space out. Not a problem. But some people are just going overboard. But it's just funny to see. But most people are just still friendly and happy to be out and want to communicate, happy to be spoken to. When I was in Fantasy Springs, I spoke to a gentleman. He was like, wow, I can't believe you spoke to me. But he was someone, and hey, can you come to my home? We can talk and we can play dominoes or whatever. But he's not used to that because we've got used to being socially distant and distant from each other and not communicating. But we still have to have dialogue and communicate so we can see how we can advance in the future with one another. So, Shuna, I see your hand up. Go ahead, Shuna, the floor is yours. Unmute yourself so we can hear you.
I want to speak on what you said about the Bitcoin. The Bitcoins is a form of money. Money is just a way of that.
It's hard to hear you. I know you said something about Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is a form of money. But other than that, I don't know what you're saying. Okay, can't hear you at all. We'll come back to you. We'll come back to you. Got a bad connection. Bad connection, Shana. Or move around.
Created. Oh, okay.
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 There we go. I can hear you now. All that you said, you said something about Bitcoin.
Oh yeah, I think I made it worse. Okay, how about now?
We hear you. We hear you now.
Okay, that's great. That's a form of money. So it's a form of money, and money is something that can be created. We don't have to use their money, because if we have our own system going, then we create our own funds and our own way of paying for it. And that's shown that it can be done with Akon when he made his own Bitcoin over in Africa, and it's already going. It's going good, and they're using oh dang, it's bit something that they use the phones to make the transaction, and everything is done over the phone using their currency. So we can create our own currency, and in that we can create our own bank. So we don't have to rely on the European banks. I've been with the same bank since I was a teenager. It's changed names about maybe 5 times. And I have never been able to get a loan from that bank in all the time that I've been with them. And I had to use creative financing to finance my business to get to where I am now. But it just showed me that I'll never be able to get no loan from them. So I've given up. I gave up on that a long time ago. But again, we can create our own currency and we don't have to rely on them for currency if we rely on each other to help each other.
We are the currency. You are correct. I
Mhm.
agree with you. We can make anything we want. I hate to say it, but that's why Gaddafi was killed, because he was trying to use the land, the natural resources in Africa as the form of money, and they did not want that, because how can you compete with that anywhere in the world? You can't. That's who would be the sole leaders in the world, the people in Africa, because they have the resources which no one else in the world has as Mother Africa has. Okay, Nadra, I see your hand raised. You can go next, Nadra.
Okay, so we can talk about a whole lot of different things. That's not me making the noise.
Okay,
But
go
for me, the result that we need to begin making, I think, is only going to come with some bloodshed, some more bloodshed. But it needs to be of the minority who are instigating the control with all of these various plots that are going on. And yep, then once you take them out, then those who are more close to us also need to be taken out, because what we're talking about, it's been 500 years on one level. We're talking about a group of people who have produced a book that has been circulated about the globe where God does not look like us. And so one of the opening statements in the movie you showed, the brother was asking, where was God when we began to be enslaved? And okay, we can go with somebody's story about how in the beginning, one of the tribesmen was cursed, but that whole philosophy that hails down from that whole book, from its antiquity, pretty much, is all against us. It all says all of this is supposed to be happening and it's not done yet. There's more to come, and the fires are part of the more to come. And the whole thing is being orchestrated to make all of that come out just like that. So what are the results?
All right. Thank you. I like what you said. They did say it's ham, as Black people are cursed because of that. And, it was just amazing when he talked about the dungeons of Africa, what they did with the children and the females, how they had them go all over there and they were all enslaved in this little bitty room, while the Europeans were up on the top deck singing hymns and godly things, and that's going on all at the same time. So can you imagine the wails of the pain versus the hymns of them in their religion, all in unison at once? What a sound that would probably make me. It's just horrific. The smell that was there. They would go up there and act like nothing happened. It was just okay. It was something that was normal. So it's amazing that they did that then. They're doing that now, and they will continue to do that until we make a change and revolutionize what we're going to do. And you are probably correct, Nadra. You are definitely correct. They will be taking some bloodshed. How are we going to do it? We want to lose as little as possible, but someone has to step up. Somehow it has to be done. I don't commend it. I wish we could just do, like everybody else, be peaceful, but it doesn't seem like that narrative is even being said to anyone at this moment. So we have to go ahead and do what we're doing right now to keep going on and moving forward. And I do agree that, I'm on that side of us, being from the military background. I understand totally, but I do understand being stealth. And I'm not going to talk about that too much more because, hey, you talk about too much, you might get peeked out. But anyway, we do have to stick together, unite, become a united front, just like they're having these like a boot camp or trainings where you're seeing more guns, more people going to ranges. Just learn how to use it, know what you're doing. So in case that does happen, we're not stuck like we are with a deer in the headlights. I don't know, Kai, are you there? I don't know if you're there. Unmute yourself. Or LaShawn, you unmuted yourself.
Yeah, I was just going to say, in regards to having our own money, I know some people are starting to live off the grid just because they're just tired with the system. And what better way than to live off the grid, which is creating our own village, our own town, our own city, and create our own everything, which we, at one point did have, on Black Wall Street, and we've had before. That way we don't need to have their money. We can, be self-sufficient on our own. And then there was another comment where you said that someone says, oh, I don't buy from Blacks because, well, not in general, but there's something specific I want to buy and the Black person doesn't have it. Well, back when Garvey was coming up, they didn't have this, they didn't have that. So, okay, what? Create it, make it happen. So that if we create it for ourselves, we have it for ourselves. So
Exactly.
back to you.
I always say, hey, don't knock somebody. Go out there and do it yourself. Just do it. All right, Shuna, you had your hand up. Then we'll go to Kai, and then Nadra. Okay.
I was going to say that, unfortunately, we are at a war, but because we still holding on to that book, most of us are still holding on to that book. We don't want to face the fact that we are for real at war. And unfortunately, we do have to pick up arms right now. And I hope I don't get in trouble from nobody for saying that, but it's the truth of the matter. And I mentioned, that young man that killed the cops in Compton. But everybody's saying, oh, we need to do something. But then I was reading all this negative stuff about how wrong he was for shooting those cops. And it's like, okay, we need to do something. So why you guys, I'm like, I hope this guy don't get caught, and I hope nobody's on here that, that don't disagree with me, But I hope the guy doesn't get caught. I hope they hide him, and whatever he did, however he did it, I hope they encourage him to teach other people, because unfortunately, the fact of the matter is we are at war, and we do have to pick up arms, and we do need to get ready. We need to do it right now. That's truly the fact of the matter, and our weapons. And that's just the reality of it. That's it.
All right, we do have to get up, stand up for your rights, Sick and tired of being killed in those games, ism, schism game, dying, going to heaven in Jesus' name, all that other stuff. But you still have to say, hey, they're killing our leaders, they're killing our people, and nothing's being done. There is no consequence. So I do totally understand what you're saying on that. I mean, unfortunately, those people have families too, but we have families as well. In war, things happen, and you are totally correct. Some fall, some don't, but you can't sit there and keep getting bopped in the head. Eventually you got to swing back. So I do understand exactly where you're coming from. Now, if they stop doing what they were doing, hey, I'll be like, all right, I'm with you on that. But they're not going to do it. They've shown they're not going to do it. We march, they come and do it again. It keeps happening over and over and over again. Okay, Kai, you can unmute yourself if you can. I know you were unmuted for a second. You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, all right. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. No, I just agree with what people are saying about that we could do for ourselves, and we could build. I mean, the reality is we did it before. So that was, how we were. The problem is, with the mindset of the other man's ice is colder and sugar is sweeter, and wanting to integrate. And I'm not saying that we should never interact with other people, but I do think that that it's imperative that we contain a lot of things, because when we don't do that, we get the results that we're getting, going off the grid, or even if we choose to be a part of society for now, learning how to grow your own food is really important, because right now we're not even prepared for a revolution. So, you know, to have a revolution, we need to actually have practical things for ourselves to understand how to live off the grid. And I do know a few people who actually do live off the grid. So I have seen what that can look like to an extent. I'm not saying that it's easy for that person, but it can be done. But we also need to have those practical things so that we're not running and begging for assistance. So, you know, learning how to grow your own food, learning how to cook or how to stay warm under certain circumstances. You know, you guys, some of you guys are in California, but in New York it gets very cold. So we need to really understand like how to handle having a winter. You know, if we're not going to be a part of society at large. So, you know, I just wanted to add that. And the other thing I did want to say in closing, since people brought up like the firearms, you know, that's one of our rights as Americans. So other people have firearms, and it's not, you know, looked down upon. So I think that that's part of being an American. It doesn't mean that you're saying I want to go out and hurt anyone, because I don't advocate for that. But I do advocate for practicing my rights as an American. Back to you.
All right. Thank you very much. You're totally correct. Hey, you have to defend yourself by any means necessary. And we do have to, when you're talking about the food and everything, we do have to have the logistics. If we are going to have that type of thing, we have to have supplies, where it's going to come from. All these things have to connect. When we come from the military, we could attack the back supply line. So if you can take out the back supply line, the people in the front will never get their ammunition or their food. So now if you cut that line off and then you come in and attack another way, it's a whole different ballgame. But you know, that's another thing about war. You'd have to know how to plan, strategize, and things like that. And we have to know where we're going to eat, how we're going to grow our food, all kinds of things. But that's even in life right now. We still have to understand that. So thank you very much, Kai. And Nadra, it's you right up. You're up. You had your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted you to know that Sherry has been trying to get on, but she can't for whatever reason. So I just want you to know someone else was trying to join.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Regarding us building places for ourselves and all that kind of thing, in my opinion, one of the reasons for the fires is even that they're just wiping out folks because they want the land. I mean, it was mentioned that we had Black Wall Street, so they drop a bomb on us. I mean, in Japan, they drop bombs. I mean, that's what they do. They terrorize. And, you know, it's like when ants attack my house, because I don't really have too much of anything else, but in terms of being attacks, right? But when ants attack, they're not trying to look out for my best interest, period. And they are just coming to do their thing. They're coming so that they can survive. And so I used to be really loving, friendly, kind, and warm, and looking at a different way of redirecting them, so to speak. You know, I studied the religions of the world, and there's a religion called Jainism, and I learned that people would even walk and do their best to avoid stepping on ants or any other living creature. And even with a blade of grass, they had challenges. Well, even in the dirt, there's things that are living. So I decided that was not practical for me. And at this point, you know, I don't use raid because I know that's helping kill me too, but I will go and get some stuff and take them out and give it to them so that they can take it back to their crew, and their whole civilization, so to speak, is taken out. So I don't understand the whole military thing, because that's just like wild. That's just like way out of my realm of being raised that there is a God, and whether I call it God, goddess, or whether it's black, white, looks like a fence or a palm tree or whatever. I mean, it's like, if you start with creation and you decide that if you make somebody be in charge of creation, then how do you end up with all of this? And if there is no one in charge of creation, for example, as the existentialists, which is a group that I studied when I was studying the religions, and you have groups of folks who believe that there is no God and everything is just everything, and you do what you want, when you want, how you want, if you want, and change your mind if you want about any of it, then you're talking about a whole different set of individuals. And so I have a girlfriend whose foot became infected. They ended up cutting off part of her foot, then her leg, part of her leg up to the knee at this point. And then she went back to some of the health practices that she had learned a while ago. And for the last 2 years, I haven't had to do any more chopping. My point about all of that is, if you don't take out the problem, if you don't even start taking out the problem, and you know that the problem has done infestation all over the globe, then there is no hope as far as I'm concerned. You gotta know that you can take out, even if we do it piece by piece, one by one, we have to know that we can eradicate the problem. We are the people who ran the world for the billions of years that it existed without this nonsense that's been going on for the last little bit of time. Little tiny bit of time. And so now my task for me is growing myself into one who can do that, because I don't know how to do that. I mean, I wasn't trained. Maybe you would train us. Dennis, would you train us?
Most definitely.
Thank you. All right, part of that's done.
All right, so thank you very much. We do have to be prepared for all that stuff, and I love what everybody's put in here, so I wanted to get out there because Anya, she's not here because she's been a little under the weather, but she always says, again, remind people what they are. They are society, religion, politicians, celebrities, media, advertising and television, this society's belief system, the dominant society. That is who they are. In case people are wondering who they are, that's who they are. And right now I'm going to come to an end, but I want to thank everybody for coming here. I'm sorry I didn't have magnificent women of Black, magnificent women in Black history or coming up. So I will be playing that next week because I should be home next week. Just put this out there because I thought it was still something relevant. We've talked about Bob Marley. We've talked about Marcus Garvey for a month. So this is also going back in the history, bringing it up. And I just think that it's so informative and so educational and enlightening for our people to understand all these aspects. And the more knowledge that we have, correct knowledge, not miseducated, but being re-educated to have the correct education to go out into the world and be able to deal with the situations that we're dealing with today and be able to build on that future. Because what we're doing right now is getting our minds right. We have to get our minds right and take action to get the evolution to where we want to go to that vision. And the vision is basically to go from, a person, individual people, to the family, having a close, tight-knit family unit, bringing us into unity. From that unity of the family, going to the clan. From that clan, from the two families coming together, raises into a village. That village, it takes a village to raise a child, as they said in there. So we have to have that village. From that village, raise up into that city, or that city, or whatever the case may be, come into that nation, become a nation building, to build an empire, to have a legacy, and to have a dynasty to keep going on and on forever for generations and generations to come. Generational wealth doesn't have to be exactly in money. It can be in a whole bunch in business, in emotional, in wellness, all kinds of things. We have so many things that we have to overcome and make accessible for our people. And all the main thing is to change our mindset, change the mindset of our people, because we have been so brainwashed They've been asleep. They're the walking dead. We always talk about the sleeping giant. We've been that sleeping giant for years. They've given us that book, as Shuna said. We have to turn away from that. Shuna is one of the biggest ones that I know, in that book. But now you read the Meta-Netter and the Mayat. We have to go back into our Afrocentric self, back to what created us, the creator of all. Be it, some people say man, some people say woman, but it's the universe. God just didn't make Earth. He made a universe. It's the universal energy that we have to put out into this world on a positive note, knowing that you are the king, queen, business owner, wife, husband, something that is positive within the community, teacher, mentor, whatever, nurse, doctor, lawyer. We all need all of this to come together as a people and unite in order to overcome what we're dealing with today. And the only way we're going to do that is to unify, unite, and we may not come together as one, but eventually somebody in New York come there. We may have a Melissa in Texas, in North Dakota, California, Chicago, whatever the case may be. All of us have to work and then come together as one. And it starts right here. And I always say you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. And that's what we're doing right here, right now, having the dialogue. It's not many right now, but I'm envisioning many will be here in the near future. So thank you all very much. We'll be back here again next week. Invite somebody that you know, bring them in, let them see what's going on. They can open up their mind and enlighten them on what's happening right here, and open up their minds, tune their ears, to know what they're seeing, understanding what they're hearing. As I always say, it's you, me, and we who can all change and transform the world together. So thank you all very much. Have a wonderful weekend. A wonderful week. And I'll see you back here next week at the same time. Bye-bye.